lax when it comes to dealing with their own families. And they kind of tolerate wrongs which their families do to their wives. And many a times, many wives complain, "Oh, my husband, he doesn't speak up for my right," because, when his mother, she says things, or when his sister says things. And the brothers keep quiet. They don't speak the truth when it comes to their family. I mean, we have to respect our parents, our families, but when they do wrong, we have to be clear and tell them they are wrong. And especially in your own marriage, if your family starts interfering, then you have to be very clear to them and say to them, very nicely and politely, that they should not interfere in your own marriage, because that will lead to your, a discord within your own marriage, and eventually, you will have problems. And many marriages end as a result of that. So if you're going to live with in-laws, have very clear understanding and guidelines in terms of what is acceptable and what is not. For example, simple thing like when you go into the home, you have sometimes, two brothers, both of their wives are in the house. How do you share the responsibilities of cooking and cleaning and so on? Sometimes it happens, the younger brother's wives get burdened with all the duties. Where the older wife, she goes out, works, and comes home, expects the, dinner and everything to be ready. It's a, real situation which I've kind of come across. It happens. So the younger brother, he's not in a position to address this. And his wife is suffering because of that. So this is wrong. He needs to be clear, it's not my wife's role to serve all of you. Yes, she can share in the responsibility, but it's not her job to provide and cook and clean and wash the clothes of everyone in the household. It's not her job. This is something, brothers, really you need to understand. When you're getting married, it's not you're not bringing a item of furniture into the house. Seriously, it's a person that you're bringing in, and that really you have to take care of. Unless you do so, you will lose it. You will lose her. Sadly, it's what happens in many marriages. Moving on, inshallah, and I'm sure you have experiences of this, and sometimes many sisters, brothers and sisters, put off marriage because of these things. But if you are realistic and you deal with this before you get into it, inshallah, you will find a much happier and smoother marriage, inshallah. Next point is that how will you marry, if you want to get married and you're studying, how will you manage between your studies and marriage itself? Brothers, those of you married, that marriage has a lot of responsibility. You're not single anymore. You can't just go out whenever you feel like. You can't just go and see your friends whenever you feel like. You have someone at home who needs your company, who needs, time with you. So you're not a free man anymore, right? And this is something that brothers ignore. And also sisters as well. When you get into marriage, you can't just be on the phone with your friends all the time. You're not going to be, you're not free anymore just to sit in front of the mirror. You've got responsibilities. So it's very crucial that, you understand how you're going to manage these roles and responsibilities in marriage. And a lot of people, they're going to marriage with these ideal notions of, a marriage is so romantic and full of, paved with roses. It can be, it is, and it should be. But it comes with duties, it comes with rights, and it comes with responsibilities. So once once the flowers have kind of gone, you see there's the dishes that need to be washed, the bills that need to be paid. This is the reality of life, brothers and sisters, and that's what you have to face. Now, the biggest problem I found that brothers and sisters complain about is that, they want to marry, but the family gets in the way. They say no, and they're adamant. No, you can't get married, you're studying, right? You're not mature enough, you haven't got enough money. How do you deal with that? How do you convince your family to accept that you want to marry? I think really that the best person to do it is your own self. That you really have to work with your families, and you really have to try to change their attitudes and try to make them understand why you want to get married, and that why this is the right thing to do. And you have to persist, because what other option is there? If you're really desperate to marry, and you want to protect yourself from haram, you can't say, oh, my family won't agree, so I'll go and do some haram instead. I've heard this argument. Some people, and actually some people do it, they say, okay, they won't let me marry, so I'll just do this, and then marry when they allow me. This is not an acceptable option. So you have no choice but to convince, persuade, and get your family to agree with you, and show to them a degree of responsibility, so that they feel confident that you understand what you're doing. They just don't think that this is a irrational youth who doesn't know what he's doing, just thinking with his desires. So that is the biggest problem, and the only way, I think, I don't know, maybe you have different thoughts on this, is to convince and to persuade and get your family to come around to accept that you want to marry. And sisters also, I think they have a difficult, harder task, because naturally it's something that you shy away from. But really, you shouldn't be shy about marriage. You want to marry, don't be shy. Go to your father, say, "Father, I want to get married." Yes. Again, I know easier said than done, but how else do you do it? We have to be frank and honest about this. How else do you say to your family? Perhaps not so straightforward, but say to them, or in a way hint. Women can talk to their mothers. Say to your mother, you want to get married, get her to convince your father. And similarly, brothers, if you have an older brother or an older sister who your parents listen to, talk to them. So there are many ways really you can work around and, find a solution. And I think if you're really sincere about it, inshallah, you'll find a solution. I think those who people make an excuse, family as an excuse, really, are kind of fooling themselves. Wallahu alam. And the biggest, I think also another practicality of marriage is the responsibility, brothers and sisters. Marriage comes with a very, very heavy responsibility, as a man and also as a woman. As a man, first of all, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you in charge as a man, put you in charge. How will you fulfill that responsibility? How will you take care of your wife? How will you maintain her? How will you see to her physical, emotional needs? Yes, because many people, as I said, they think with their desires. And it's like anything else, brothers. When you are hungry for something, right? You don't think about the consequences. You just want to kind of taste, get rid of that hunger. It's like, when you're fasting in Ramadan, right? You're thinking, I could eat so much, I'll eat this and that. But after the first date, all that hunger is gone. True or not? This is the nature of people, really. People by nature, they're greedy. This is the nature of human beings. In the hadith, the Prophet said that the son of Adam is never content. If he had one value of gold, he would ask for another. And nothing truly fulfills that hunger until he tastes death. But, that's the nature of people. We're always greedy. We want things that we don't have. But once you have it, you forget about it. So it's like hunger. Similarly for marriage. Before marriage, you're thinking, how great and how beautiful, how wonderful it is. But once you've fulfilled your shahwa, you've fulfilled your desires, then really, the responsibility sets in. And that's when many people start thinking, hang on, what have I got myself into? They think, oh, right, maybe this was not the best thing to do. So once once that shahwa is gone, and it's not forever, once you fulfill your shahwa, your desire, then comes the reality of living with somebody. And this is one of the biggest challenges, right? People, before marriage, they could spend day and night with somebody. You see this, right? You see these couples, they're always together on the phone or whatever, right? They spend all the time together. But after marriage, what happens? It's like sometimes the men, they don't want to go home, right? And the women, they just dread when the husband is coming back home. So why? Because the reality is, when you live with a person, it's not the same as when you don't live with a person. When you're living with somebody, that's when the challenge is. Because when you live with a person, you see everything, right? You see the good and the bad. But before that, you only see the good side. You don't see the bad qualities or the bad behavior or the bad aspects of a person. You only discover this once you've married someone and you see, hang on, I didn't know this before. I didn't, all the things that were hidden before come to life. And that's when you have to kind of try and live with a person. This is one of the, I think, biggest challenges of marriage, is living with a person. How do you live with a person who has good, but at the same time may have things that, get